Dave Marsh, iGolf TV, back once again. Now I'm continuing the series here of teaching you how to score correctly. Some of the important elements that are going to give you this consistency around the green and give you the chance to get the ball up and down from anywhere. Now, this video is pretty simple. It's about hitting the ball a little bit lower with a 60-degree wedge, but there's some important elements that I want you to understand. We want to set up and be very square to the ball. We don't want to be getting too much open stance on any of our shots. And the reason I don't want an open stance on too many of the shots is because that's then going to begin to affect our long game. The more we can build a consistent pattern from putting, square stance, from chipping, square stance, pitching, square stance, wedge play, square stance, right the way back through the irons, and a square stance on the driver. So we want to build this level of consistency that's so different. Now the way that we hit this lower shot with the 60-degree wedge is that we will stay very, very low on both sides of the ball. We don't want to be able to get the club up too quickly, and we don't want to flick it too quickly this way. But the key element that I want to always tell you, to become a phenomenal short game player, we need to learn to get a shallow strike. And a shallow strike means we almost don't touch the ground at all. We're just picking that ball up. We hardly take a divot at all. I remember working with Rob Watts, who worked with Darren Clark, and Rob was always telling me how Darren hardly even grazed the surface. Darren could hit 20, 30 shots around the green, and then you go and look where he was practicing and you wouldn't be able to see hardly a divot. And this is such an interesting fact. When you can learn to take the ball nice and shallow, then you're going to be able to get some very consistent striking, and it's just that simple. So some of the elements that we want when we're going to hit the ball in a little bit lower is we're going to have a relatively narrow stance, but we're going to preset our knees. You can see I'm presetting my knees this way a little bit. Now that gets me over onto my left side, and is going to help that descending blow, although it's not going to get digging down into the ground. We don't want to start digging this club into the ground. All we need is to get into this position from here, slightly forwards. Now, when we return the club back to the ground, we don't want to be digging it in. And so what we're really doing here is a shoulder and body movement, and a shoulder and body movement and legs on the way through. So it's returning back through the ball, just staying nicely connected. Let me hit one for you first of all. Into position there, knees just slightly set forwards, and that ball comes out nice and low and runs down there. You can see it's a pretty short action, not much is going on there. We're just opening and closing the door. So again, most of these shots that I'm showing you are really won or lost in the setup position. If you can learn to set up correctly, you've got a much better chance of executing the shot. So again, from there you can see I'm presetting the knees just into position. Then from here I'm going to be nice and soft in my grip, and that ball comes out nice and low and just runs up to the hole. You can see where I've held my finish here. This is just a very low action. The club head is really traveling from kind of this position through to this position, and we're not particularly manipulating the club face at all. We're just allowing ourselves to turn it through and get the speed with the body. I'll hit one more just to show you this body. It's really, once I've set myself into position there, I'm just going to rotate, and I'm going to rotate through, and I can allow myself to get some nice speed through the ball there. So I'm setting my knees, strike, and you can see it as the ball flies onto the green there. That's what we need to do to hit this low 60 shot. It's really about getting the setup position right first of all, and then rotating through the shot. Now you've been watching iGolf TV, the place to be, where we're waking up your game.